Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the SOM TV podcast. I'm your host, Jason Wise. Welcome to the Halloween episode of the SOM TV podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about why the Halloween candy you grew up with is a lot different than the Halloween candy today. Honestly, I think all of us would agree it just does not taste the same. Something's off, something's different. Why? We're going to speak with one of the preeminent food scientists, Dr. Fred Capiraso, former Dean of Food Science and Nutrition at Chapman University, to speak about why chocolate may not be chocolate anymore and what has happened to our Halloween candy. After that, I speak to the wonderful husband and wife team behind Final Girl Wines in Santa Barbara County and why they named their wine after one of the great horror film concepts. We're going to talk about wine, horror films, and what you should watch and drink during this season. But before we do that, I do want to tell all of you to go to SOM TV to watch our brand new episode on Madeira. Over 120 years of vintage has opened up to talk about why this drink has influenced all of history and why it is so important to consider today. Also, we have a brand new episode about a family that has sold over 1 billion bottles of wine and changed the face of wine forever, the Laithwaites. I have a conversation with Barbara and Tony Laithwaite to talk about how they have changed wine, and it's in preparation for our brand new original film that is airing November 5th, our new Verticals episode, Verticals the Laithwaites, featuring the family and filmed in Bordeaux and the UK. It is releasing November 5th on SOM TV, so make sure you sign up for SOM TV at somtv.com. If you do not have a membership, go to somtv.com and enter SOMTV50 to get 50% off right now. Let's get into why our Halloween candy tastes different than it used to with the preeminent scientist, Dr. Fred Capiraso. Talk to me about your background. Why are you qualified to talk about Halloween candy, chocolate, and food?
Besides eating it, I have a PhD in food science and technology with a minor in biochemistry. My PhD thesis was on flavor chemistry.
I'd say that qualifies you just fine. I have noticed when I was a kid, Halloween candy used to taste great. I remember the chocolate tasting like chocolate, the peanuts tasting like peanuts, the coconut tasted like coconut. And I have a 12-year-old and I have a 9-year-old and a lot of little kids running around the neighborhood. And I just think Halloween candy tastes terrible now. There's something off with it, something different. And I'm just curious if there's any chance from your perspective as a food science and nutritionist, you can tell me why.
There are changes in what happens, like with everything else in life. When people are trying to sell stuff, they're trying to maximize profits. And one of the things that's become difficult over the years is the price of cocoa and therefore cocoa butter, which gives you that milky texture that we get in chocolate, is gotten more expensive. It's only grown in certain areas. It's costly to transport. And so they tried to cut it sometimes with other fat-soluble fats that are available from other sources, other animal sources or other plant sources, to try to cut the costs that are cheaper than using 100% cocoa butter.
So give me an example. What do you mean cut it with animal sources? I mean, are they literally using like it tastes like waxy to me.
Yeah, in fact, this is a long time ago, but in the early 70s, the person that taught me food flavors, who was the head of the Department of Food Science at Rutgers, worked on using lamb fat as one of the options to replace part of cocoa butter in chocolate products. And turns out their findings were very, very successful. They didn't use very much, but just using a little bit cut the cost tremendously. The average consumer didn't notice it. And you could say over the years, that's happened more and more, and we sort of settle. We do eat with our eyes. And so if you see a package that has Hershey on it or Mars, or you have a thought process already, but we're pretty habitual. I eat hamburgers every other day or so, and I don't pay as much attention to it. And you might get used to that. But you thinking about it more, being an analytical person, have sort of detected that there is a difference and we don't like it. So you either go into a Godiva store and pay extra for a higher quality product that has a larger percentage of cocoa butter, or you settle because that's the brand name you're used to and it sort of tastes similar. It does for the majority of people. And you got to realize too, everybody's different. And some people are more connoisseurs and other people are more kind of sewers. They're used to that product. They just throw it down and consuming for time and volume. And it's sort of satisfying. They're not paying as much attention to it. They're not savoring it like fine wine.
You're on a wine podcast, so that's a good analogy. But now that you're retired or semi-retired, is this healthy? Taking all of these synthetic things and calling it chocolate? Are you going to get in trouble for answering this question?
No, I think I would say to you that cocoa butter is synthetic. There's not chocolate trees growing out there. And just because something is, quote, natural doesn't mean it's better for you. But we do process things a lot. There's trade-offs with certain things. If you're one of the 20% of people that blood pressure is affected by high consumption of sodium, you shouldn't. Other people consume it and don't have that issue. But the same thing with taste. Some people are not as, what's the right word, sophisticated. The price is more important. If you go into a 7-Eleven, you're not looking for a Godiva chocolate. You're looking for something that's a little bit lower end, a little bit easier on the wallet, and it's okay.
It's kind of like, you know, the parable of Theseus's ship, Fred, where it's like you take a board from this ship every day and replace it with a different board. And at what point is it still the same ship? So at what point is this still chocolate? At what point is it even still candy?
I think that's individual, really. If it's really bad, nobody's going to buy it. It's not that those substitutes are necessarily bad for you, but you're saying you want that same product that I had as a kid because I like that and I want that same flavor. Whereas new consumers are coming into the market all the time and they might not be as discerning as you are. They don't have that memory. Some may be more price conscious.
So my daughters will never know the taste of a true Butterfinger or a true Three Musketeers the way I did. I shouldn't lament that they're happy with this thing that I think you should put a wick in. I honestly think you should put a wick in this candy and you should just
Light it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's, waxy is a good analogy. And that's what happens. It doesn't really melt on your tongue the same. You're perceiving that. Your daughters are just happy to get candy, and that's what's available. I think there's something there, but the companies that go too far go out of business typically because fewer and fewer people buy that chocolate.
my daughters want the Dubai chocolate is the big thing. And I look at those bars and those bars are like $30.
Yeah, that's really what it comes to. I mean, it's and again, because of marketing, supply chain things, companies are trying to make the product. They want to profit as high a profit as possible. If they cut corners on the flavor standpoint, they first want to make sure consumers won't reject it. But then they make some switches if the bottom line is still where they want it to be. So part of that is the marketplace. You want your daughters to have chocolate like you do, you have to open bigger wallets.
Yeah, that sounds fair. So I don't even know if you can answer this, but what percentage of this company's business, let's say Hershey's or Mars or Cadbury or any of these giant companies, what percentage is Halloween? Do you think this is like a major, major part of their yearly budget?
Massive.
How massive?
Well, just think about it. I was in the World Chess Hall of Fame today before I left the chess tournament where the best players in the world were playing. They had Ellis candy out there in a fake half pumpkin container. It wouldn't be there any other time because it was Halloween. But the same thing happens at other holidays too, like Christmas, etc., where we associate those products as being there. I don't have exact percentages, but I have been in those plants when they're being produced. And it is big. The holiday season is big for them. Easter's another one with chocolate.
Why don't we do something really quick? Because you're of a different generation than me. When you were a kid at Halloween, what was the candy like then? I don't want to date you, but I will say you're a little older than me.
Yeah. I'm 78. It was good. We thought it was good. Was it higher quality? I think so, because chocolate is cheaper. Places where chocolate is grown are a lot of third world places. It's more expensive to do business. Companies have looked at other options. And one of the options that they'll look at, because chocolate's not going away, is to make it have some substitutions in there that will still satisfy the consumer, but not kill the company's bottom line.
As somebody who did this for many, many years, as far as trying to make food taste good while being something you could make at a high level at a certain amount of quantity. I mean, you're a very rare individual. You sort of know how the quote unquote the sausage is made, or in this case, the Kit Kats.
So that's a great example of sausage. So sausage legally can be up to 50% fat content. Hamburger legally was 30% is a maximum. But now we've moved away from people who are health conscious. You go into the supermarket, most of the hamburger that's sold is sold at 15% or less fat than when I was a kid, when it was all 30%.
Oh my God. I didn't know there was a legal designation for the amount of fat that could be in a sausage. 50% fat. That is no joke.
Yeah, so that's the legal limit. Yeah, so hey, the Europeans eat sausage like crazy, but they're also more active and then maybe burn off those calories. Those are standards that were set years and years ago.
All right, so here I'm seeing here the FDA requires milk chocolate to contain at least 10% chocolate liqueur, 12% mixed milk solids, and 3.39% milk fat. They set the standard for other chocolate types, such as a minimum of 35% chocolate liqueur for dark chocolate and 20% cocoa butter for white chocolate. So there is a standard, but 12%. Imagine if I was to give you milk and I was like, here's your milk, and you drank it. You're like, this sure tastes like water.
My doctor has me on non-fat milk.
I'm sure everyone's doctor wants them on non-fat milk. But I mean, what if the rule was only 12% milk had to be in something to call it milk? I mean, to me, this is just kind of absurd.
Well, related to that, and we're getting a little bit off, but ice cream, we did research when I was at Penn State, and they have the best ice cream on earth, I think.
There is an ice cream shop at Penn State that is the best. I agree. I apologize. We're off on a tangent here, but anytime Ohio State would play Penn State, I'd go and see the games. And the first place we'd go was the Creamery, and we'd wait in a giant line with a bunch of fans of Penn State and get stuff thrown at us in Ohio State jerseys. But man, that is the best ice cream of all time.
They did research on that, and then you have to have at least 7% no fat. But the higher the percentage of fat they put into it, the more people liked it, until it was way over a legal limit. I mean, you could put 22% fat in there, and people liked it better because it's creamier and smoother.
Of course, but you're drinking lard.
You might say, well, it's the same kind of thing with the cocoa butter, being that the higher the cocoa butter, the more people are going to like it. But is it healthier for them? And you're talking just about you'd like
the taste.
The taste the way it used to be when you were a kid. That's, not necessarily the healthiest, but anyway, they also have to make a profit and those kinds of things. Buy cheap ice cream at the department store. Doesn't taste as creamy. Well, that's because it doesn't have as much milk fat.
Fred, I cannot thank you enough for spending time. I know you're currently in an airport waiting for a flight, and I just called you on a whim really fast for our Halloween episode. I want to thank you very much and look forward to having you back on. Thank you, Fred. All right, now let's head over to Santa Barbara County and talk to the husband and wife team behind Final Girl Wines. Incredible mashup between horror films and wine, which is just, I got to say, it's just made for me and made for this time. Anna and Pete, it's an honor to have you guys on the podcast. I found out about your wines, and it was like, look, Halloween, Final Girl Wines, there is literally no better synergy. Welcome to the SOM TV podcast, you two.
Yeah, thank you. We're so excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I know you had to get a babysitter for this. For some of you listening, you know what a pain in the ass that is. For the others who aren't, you will someday. I'm going to really quick set up the fact that we were filming at a really, really wonderful wine bar in Los Angeles that we film a lot of things here for Som TV called Vintage in Studio City.
Mhm.
And they had your wines, Final Girl. And the bottle has a girl with a chainsaw, and it is an incredibly wonderful thing. And what I want to do is start off, because clearly the two of you are horror films fans. Halloween is right now. We are right in the midst of everything.
Yes.
Why did you name your wine company Final Girl?
Essentially, Final Girl is a horror movie term for the last woman standing at the end of a horror film. And the reason we kind of went for something in the horror genre is when I met Pete, we were randomly at a friend of a friend's birthday party in New Zealand.
Do you know that
It's a
back
bit
in
of
the
a long
day,
story.
yeah, back in the day, people used to meet each other at these events called parties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And we met in one of those.
Yes. And so honestly, the first conversation we had, this was back in 2016, lots of zombie things in the zeitgeist. So essentially we said what skills we would each bring to the zombie apocalypse.
That was
and
our first conversation.
That was our first conversation, yeah. So I said I could make wine, which Pete was sold on right away, although in the event of a real zombie apocalypse, I don't know how handy that would be.
Where are you making wine and what are you making? And then I want to ask a couple questions about horror films.
We are based in Santa Barbara County. We make our wines in Buellton, California. Personally, I'm from Southern California, from Thousand Oaks, and I also lived and worked in Napa for 10 years. And when I first moved to this region, I started working with fruit from all across the Central Coast, but I really specifically fell in love with the Santa Ynez Valley here in Santa Barbara County. It's kind of a unique location in that you're going to find some microclimate, some small AVA appellation where you can grow almost any grape that you want to grow well. And that really inspired me. So our whole brand actually started around my love for Petit Verdot, which had started when I worked in Napa making cabs. And it was sort of like, and not the leading lady, but it was in the cast. I really liked that grape. And that was the first grape that I made for this brand. And it grows really beautifully in the Happy Canyon of Santa Barbara, that appellation. And I felt, having worked with, wines from a lot of areas around the Central Coast, that it most closely resembled those kind of unique flavors and that really like special terroir that I had found in Napa. That's where we are. And that's why we make wine here. And we kind of also make, similar to the horror genre, we do make some wines, like we make a Cab and a Sauv Blanc and wines that everyone has heard of, but we also make slightly more genre specific, more avant-garde. What would you say, Pete? How would you describe it?
In the red box, you know how you had Top Gun and right next to it was Iron Eagle 2? We make the Iron Eagle 2.
We're the
something
independent filmmakers of wine.
This
the
is
one,
good. Iron Eagle 2. Man, what a call.
It's a good one, okay?
Yeah, I'm not judging.
Lou Gossett Jr., I think. Yeah, is that right? Anyway.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
So basically, we do that. Like a lot of our wines, why Petit Verdot, it's interesting because the inspiration, because there's a Final Girl for every wine. And for that particular one, it is a wine that is, a Petit Verdot is one that is often used as a Bordeaux blender and is not often shown by itself. It's kind of in the background. So much like Barbara from Night of the Living Dead, she's hovering in the background until the zombies really start to kick in, and then she starts kicking us and taking names all by herself. And in that way, a Petit Verdot single varietal that we certainly have from Happy Canyon is certainly that. It's our most popular wine, and it stands out and shines.
So that's the wine I had that made me text you. I got your contact and I said, listen, I got to talk to these two people because they're obviously insane. I love them. I want to talk to them. The wine was delicious. So the two of you met at a party and you connected over horror films. And look, I have to say, you're right after my own heart. Mixing this with wine is just tremendous. So Petit Verdot, it's the perfect Final Girl of grapes. It is like absolutely phenomenal.
It really is.
Girl next door, not the cheerleader.
Completely overlooked, but stunning.
She
just has to take off her glasses,
She takes off her glasses and she's hot. She's a virgin, of course, so she's going to live.
Exactly.
If we're going to play by the genre rules here. The Final Girl concept here. I want to know, what are the films the two of you talked about when you met each other? So what is it like you're talking about and you're like, oh, you've seen this. Oh, you've seen this. You like this. What are those films really quick?
We talked about a bunch of different ones, but I mean, that's sort of getting, you could get roundabout in circles. Actually, one of the things that pretty quickly happened if I could just take a step back about the label and the branding as well, because one of the important things and the lessons about this brand is how everything just seems to click into place. We knew that we wanted to have something that was horror related because that spoke to two of our passions. And so we're sitting around and it's basically, it just came to Anna and she said, why not Final Girl? That makes a lot of sense. Why does it make sense for you personally, Anna?
Well, for me, it makes sense. A few reasons. One, it's an homage to strong women, right? And about like just having that perseverance and self-assurance, self-trust that you can make it through, essentially, that every final girl must have, right? Confidence in her own abilities. I decided when I was actually 13 years old that I wanted to be a winemaker, and I come from Southern California. My dad's family is Irish American descent. My mom's family, my mom actually came here from Guatemala when she was 16. So my running joke is the only time I ever tried wine before I decided to be a winemaker was at church. Essentially, it's kind of like I knew this was my destiny. I knew this is what I was meant to do. When I saw the movie French Kiss when I was 13 years old and was like, oh, that's a thing you can be. That's what I'm going to be. And so I just had that like
The
unwavering.
Kevin Kline, Meg Ryan French
Yeah.
Kiss.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
classic mid-90s rom-com just
Oh,
to
yes.
make all
Very
your most
familiar.
important life
Big
decisions.
pants, big shoulder pants.
When I heard the term final girl, which I hadn't heard before, we knew we were going to do something horror. We wanted to do something horror. And we were kind of like reading articles, and Peter is an aspiring screenwriter. So that was kind of taking me into more of the nitty gritty, the actual like nuts and bolts of movies and film and stuff like that. And I heard this term and it just really resonated with me because I was like, oh, I knew what I wanted to do and I knew what the right choices were. And even if no one else could see it, even if everyone thought I was just some crazy kid, I knew that this was my destiny and that was my choice. And I just never wavered from that belief. And then went to Napa and like, being a young woman in Napa starting in the wine industry in the early 2000s, it was really an uphill battle. But again, it was just like that belief in myself and my own ability and that I could see that this was my future and that I just needed to carve that path for myself.
I do love that you see the concept of a final girl being like somebody who can survive. I mean, obviously in these movies, it's pretty terrible things, but,
Yeah.
metaphorically survive all the slings and arrows and then end up, making wine, being a winemaker, doing the thing you dreamed of. That's incredible. But I am dying to get into what movies and what final girls are the ones. What are the ones for you? Because people listening to this are going to go, I'm going to watch these movies. I'm hoping there are some people haven't seen.
The first few varietals that we had, we started thinking about, well, what could be some of those final girls? Well, the first one with the Petite Verdot, as we've already explained, was Barbara from Night of the Living Dead, because she shares the same sort of characteristics of what a Petite Verdot does. We also had the second bottle that we had as well was a Grenache Syrah blend. And for us, the characteristics of Grenache being the lighter, brighter.
Yeah, like what they each brought to that blend. So the light, red fruits of the Grenache and then kind of the darker meatier, earthy notes from the Syrah.
And that was Buffy and Faith. So from
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That was all Peter, by the way. He's a big fan of Buffy.
And then with the
the film you're talking about, you're talking about the film.
Well, actually, no, the TV series, and I mean,
No, his was definitely the TV series.
TV series,
yeah.
Okay.
Also.
Although I am a big fan of Buffy the movie, because that was, right when I was growing up, it was perfectly timed.
So we also went with our rosé Wichita from Zombieland, and actually on the front of our rosé bottle, you'll actually see that there's a grave with a zombie hand sticking out of it as well.
Yeah, so we've added some little fun touches to the bottles, like varietally specific, to kind of go with those final girl nods.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally am a huge fan of horror comedy, so we thought rosé is a serious wine, but it's kind of light and fun and a little more carefree. So Zombieland is one of my favorite movies, actually hilarious. And then with, I won't ruin it for anyone, but one of the greatest film cameos of all time.
If people haven't seen Zombieland by now, then
I know,
right? I think you can't just spoiler alert. It's something that's about 15 years old.
Oh, I think
maybe
it
a bit older.
might be older.
But then we had fruit from Jurassic Park with Chenin Blanc at one stage.
So Jurassic Park Vineyard.
Yeah, Jurassic Park Vineyard, but then they took the clipping, so we've got Son of Jurassic Park now, and so on that Chenin is a dinosaur. So Ellie Sattler,
Yeah, so those are all we have some more wines and those are all our pairings. Personally, I think one of my favorite, it's hard to say because we love all the horror movies. Our first actually horror movie conversations were not about movies specifically, but Walking Dead was like huge at the time. And
Sure.
so that's kind of how we moved into having Barbara from Night of the Living Dead. It was like very zombie themed. And that's kind of why zombies feature in the first few wines that we made. Personally, one of my favorite horror movies has always been Scream. I think the original was absolutely brilliant. And again, you have all those cool horror movie concepts in there. And like even the point where they're explaining like all the things you have to do, the rules of the horror movie. And that really obviously is like explains the final girl and how you survive and stuff. So I always thought that was really cool. The franchise goes on and on. Like I actually just had a couple sick days a few weeks ago. And I was like, you know what? The kids are in school. I'm just going to sit on the couch and watch all the Scream movies that are on streaming.
So Sydney's fantastic for Scream. We also love Nancy as well. I mean, A Nightmare, like basically Wes Craven's pretty cool, right?
Yep.
I have been a bit of a fan of Halloween, but also one of my favorite Halloweens, this is always hotly debated, is I'm one of those Halloween 3
Say
fans.
3. You're 3?
Yeah.
Season of the Witch?
Yeah, Season of the Witch.
Oh, yeah.
And,
The best one. It's the best
I think
one. I
it's
stand by
definitely one for now, like it's chock full of your conspiracy theory stuff in there as well, which is great. I think it sort of talks a lot about
it's a phenomenal
AI
movie.
discussions.
I really ride hard for that film. It's great.
Yeah, me too. You know if you've got a T-shirt, right? So they've got a T-shirt of the Silver Shamrock.
What if you have an original signed poster by John Carpenter, who did not direct it but produced it?
Okay.
And I have that
That would
in
be-
my
Yeah.
office. So,
Yeah, definitely
I'm
winning
a-
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a
that's
fan.
Yeah,
one of
and
Pete's faves of
I
all
also
time.
like that, that was pointed towards what Halloween was supposed to be originally in concept as an anthology piece. I actually quite like a lot of the anthology pieces that have come out in the last, 5 years, decade or so. That say were on Hulu, and there's VHS ones. There's the ones about the holidays as well. So there's a whole bunch of different interesting horror. From indie horror makers as well, who is particularly out of LA. So there's a lot of that, but I personally as well, you give me anything with a predator or an alien in it, I'll eat it up. I don't even care if it's crap. I love all of them. I think that Ripley is one of the best final girls.
Well,
me.
I was going to say Alien is, I have a poster behind me right now.
Yeah.
Alien is, should be in the Louvre. It's like a perfect situation.
Yeah, it
It's
is,
so
yeah.
good. We love it.
If I'm going to add, if I can add a couple, I would, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is probably the most iconic final girl
Yeah.
situation you can,
Agreed.
you can,
Hence our chainsaw
yeah,
Yeah.
on the
exactly.
front of the
that's-
bottle.
that
It
one is
just
too.
Says
But-
final girl.
So I have a 12-year-old daughter, and this has been one of the greatest pleasures of my life is introducing. She is obsessed with scary movies, wants to
Yeah.
be scared, wants to have that experience of feeling very nervous and all this stuff. And then some people can brush it off afterwards and go, I want to watch another one the next night. Other people are scared. She loves. And so we watched a movie called The Descent, which I've seen many, many
Oh,
times.
yeah. Yeah, love
And
it.
Yeah.
her response to this film made me fall deeply back in love with this movie. Yeah. This film is one that I think if people have not seen The Descent and you want to see a film that features a quote unquote final girl, but is also aware of that concept very well with the way it ends, it's just, oh boy.
Well,
Great one.
I was actually, funnily, I was in the tasting room today, which is located in Solvang, the 5th best tasting room in America, recently named.
Really? Wow.
But just
Yes.
doing that plug.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we were actually talking about it today, about something similar, because one of the features that we have in our tasting rooms, we have a wall of skulls on the bar. And someone said, oh, that reminds me of the French catacombs. And I said, well, there's actually a really cool movie about that. And so my recommendation for you and your daughter would be to check out As Above, So Below, which came out a while ago. And then there's also another one, which is, by the way, that's another genre I absolutely love, the old the maze stories, which goes back, thousands of years? It goes back to like antiquity with these, the labyrinth stories.
Of course. Yeah.
There's another
With the
one called
Minotaur
Pyramid.
and all that stuff.
Exactly, 100%. And it basically does talk, it's a story that resonates for humanity. But there's one called Pyramid, which is very similar. Again, no spoilers really, but basically Anubis comes out and starts kicking their asses a little bit. I really do love those what's around the corner, scary kind of movies as well.
All the films that are self-aware, like you mentioned, Scream, you have to call out Ready or Not, which is a film, about a girl who marries into a gaming family, like Milton Bradley type
Yeah.
Monopoly family. And it is a very I'm aware of the final girl concept. Great one. Watched that with my daughter and she was like, oh my God. And I now have her hooked on all this stuff. So this is partly why I was like, I got to have you guys on the podcast. This whole situation is just one of the best. It's a genre that will not go away. It just won't. There's something different between like a final guy and a final girl. It's just not the same. Like,
There is one exception, hotly debated, but many in the horror community agree. There is one male who is a final girl, and that is Dutch from Predator.
oh, yeah, sure, of course. I love Predator. It's the best.
One of the key components of a final girl is to use courage over physical limitations. And I think in that way, I think Dutch is completely overwhelmed by the Predator. And I think that's the argument anyway. It might be a bit of a stretch, but anyway, that's...
It's a good one.
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah,
really
it's a
fun
really good
things
one.
about this thing that we've done with our lives and essentially combining two of our favorite things is that Pete gets to have debates and conversations about horror movies on a very regular basis with people that, come through the tasting room and stuff. And people just get excited about it. Because again, similar to wine, where people are really passionate about these things, like horror also brings out that same kind of just innate excitement in people that get it. You either get it or you don't get it. And so the people that get it, they're really into it. And so it's like really kind of fun to find our people out there in the world and also present them our wines, which again, with the branding, it's like, it's been a bit of a journey, a final girl journey, but we're getting to this point where people they're finding us and they're from either wine side, people, serious wine people like yourself that tried the wine and wanted to talk to us, and also like horror people that don't maybe necessarily know that much about wine, and then they come and try the wines, and it's like a really great way for us to give really great wines to people that maybe weren't coming for the wine, but we can kind of bring the wine to people.
And we see that. You get comments all the time that people come in, they feel comfortable, and then they try some wines. We have a pretty eclectic wine flight, I think, it's fair to say.
Well, I can say this. When I first saw your label, I turned and I said, "Can I try that wine?" So I just want you to know, whatever you're doing works really well, because I literally just walked into a wine bar to film, saw your wine, wanted to open it, tasted it. It was great. And I'm not going to lie to you, the label, I mean, I want to send it to a ton of people I know, because I just think it's the coolest thing. I love it. What you guys are doing is great. I look forward to tasting more of the wines that you make. So congratulations. This is wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
And by the way, Anna, your journey is not done. You're not the final girl yet. So let's not get cocky. So
fair.
You're still working. You're still working.
3 years still to play out.
Yeah.
That's right.
We have,
That's
I don't
right.
think have we reached Dark Night of the Soul? Not yet.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. A couple years, no, I think we
Every day, and
the
yet,
other side.
know.
Yeah.
Are we on the other side?
I think
Okay.
we
All
are
right.
next.
Yeah.
So good. Well, tell people where they can get your wine.
You can order it online. That's probably the best place to get all the different wines that we have on offer. You just go to finalgirlwines.com and go to shop. And in there, you'll see all of our wines that are currently available, and also some of the wonderful events that we have on, because we're as much as an event space these days as anything else, with movies and cabaret shows and everything else in between, and tarot card readings. It's ridiculous. That's probably the best place to go is to order online. We ship out to most states.
Love this. This is the best. Thank you two so much. I really appreciate you being on. It means a lot.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. We're super honored.
Before I let you go, what are you guys going to watch tonight? I love putting people on the spot.
One of the things I really want to watch, because I missed out because we didn't have any success with it, I really kind of want to watch Event Horizon.
Oh, yeah. There's
My
that.
God, it's a
So
listen.
good.
Event Horizon is a movie I watched probably 6 times in the theater. I'm not a huge Paul W.S. Anderson evangelist, but I love that film. Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne, and it's a very disturbing, wonderful sci-fi horror. Good call.
Love it.
All right, you two, be safe.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to today's episode. It means so much to us. If you love the Som TV podcast, please leave us a great review, rate and review wherever you listen to the podcast. It really, truly does mean so much to us. Thank you to Dr. Caparasso for joining today's episode and the team behind Final Girl Wines. If you're looking for something spooky to drink this season, that's your answer right there. Thank you to our producer, John Adams. We really appreciate your work on this episode. And to you listening, if you do not subscribe to Som TV, go to somtv.com and enter SomTV50 at checkout. We have a brand new episode on the Laithwaites coming November 5th, a brand new feature film. We can't wait for you to see it. All right, everybody, go trick-or-treating, but get some real chocolate this time. Be safe. We'll talk soon.